Benchmark surveys show more Americans identify as Democrats than Republicans. Oh, isn't that interesting? Public opinion polls don't include the same number of Republicans and Democrats. Isn't this interesting? A recurring headline in the news right now is that Kamala and Trump are effectively tied for the general election. How could that be the case if we're getting signals from Kamala's camp that she's got no chance? Signals from Kamala's camp, yes. If you lose an argument with someone, what do you want to do? You ask for a rematch. It is known that if you lose a competition with someone, even if it's for fun, you say, best 2 out of 3. Why? Because you lost. Because you lost. Why must you joke about having a firearm and discharging that firearm at a home invader if you're Kamala Harris, who's famous for gun control recommendations? Because you're trying to appeal to conservatives and Republicans. Why must you talk about building a border wall when you're Kamala Harris? If for years you've been talking about how building a border wall is racist. Because you're losing. Because your internal poll numbers must be different from what the national so-called best-in-class polls are reporting. What's most likely going on right now, this is my suspicion, is that if you ask 10 people, but you select from a pool that is known to be potentially biased one way or the other, then what is the outcome going to be? It's like prompting an AI to give you a specific output, but feeding into the input what you want it to say. This is what they do. And that leads me to think about the way questions can be asked, the way things can be framed, the way persuasion can be unfolded, can be performed, can be done, so that you know what the outcome is going to be in advance. Imagine if in your life or in your business, there's a specific answer you want. If you want to demoralize the opposition, in this case, the Trump campaign, Trump voters, then you see to it that the polls favor you. You see to it that via indirect influence, via ideologically allied individuals who are performing these pollings and these polls and these surveys, you make sure that the polls favor you, whereas your realistic internal polling, that what you happen to know is correct, is different from what's out there. Think about who you want to influence in your life, your business, your family, your industry. Understand that the way you ask the question, how you ask the question, in what context you ask the question, all of this can determine the answer. The mood someone is in can determine their answer. If, for example, you ask your spouse to do something for you when they're very tired, they're hungry, or they're angry, or they've been lonely, are they likely to give you what you want? Unless you flex on them, if you know what I mean. Probably not. What about your customers? The context of the question is the question. Understand this. This is something that I believe I'm unique to speaking to in the publishing industry. I tell my aspiring authors that in this day and age, for readers, you think you want to go deep, you want to dive deep, you want to give them as much information as possible. You want to tell all your stories, all your experiences, all your advice, all your tips, because I am a professional ghostwriter. I've ghostwritten 93 books. I co-authored some books as well, including 2 New York Times bestsellers, one week after the next, which is pretty cool, in summer of 2024, July, 1st and 2nd week of July. What I tell my authors, most of whom are nonfiction how-to book authors. So they're writing sales books, they're writing marketing books, they're writing psychology, health, wellness, sexual health and wellness. Think about any of these topics that are self-help similar, or there's some sort of advice being dispensed. The vast majority of readers of these books are not sitting alone in a quiet room or quiet corner of the library with the book, devouring it. That is a myth. Most people are reading a book while they're sitting on a crowded airplane. They've been bumped from first class back to business, and then when they got on the plane, business hall seats were all taken, so now they're back in coach. There's a crying baby. The person next to them is the size of one person, rather two people each taking up one seat somehow. They're tired, of course, because they got up at 3:30 for this flight. They're very disappointed, very angry, very upset. They realize that now they forgot one of their two pieces of luggage at home. They wonder, how could I have just now remembered that I forgot it? Now that I'm on the plane and it has that very important item that I needed for this trip, it was essential. It was a can't miss. They're waiting for the coffee trolley to come down. The person behind them is coughing into their space. And to distract themselves, they open up your book. That is the context of your content. That is the asking majority Democrat survey group what their opinion is of Harris versus Trump. Meaning, you must write for that situation. You must write for the outcome you want. Now, in the Kamala situation with the survey, obviously you want surveys, you want polls that are favorable to you. So then how must you write the content that's going to be favorable given the context? Well, you're going to offer people an escape. You're going to offer your authors, or rather, as an author, you're going to offer readers an escape. It's going to be easy to read. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be multi-sensory. So you're going to use words like imagine. You're going to use words and phrases like, let me tell you about a time when, or let's say that. And you bring people describing what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like into a superior future where people can imagine a better world, a better life, better business, better experiences, particularly in the opening chapter. And you are optimistic and you're positive. That is the tone, that is the voice. And or you're really funny, unexpectedly funny, not dry, not boring. Especially if it's a dry and boring topic, you're going to be funny. You're going to get the outcome that you want by changing the context of the content. The content of the poll or the survey result is decided by the context, which is let's poll majority Democrat to get a favorable answer to our side, while privately knowing what the real deal is. You as the author privately know what all the facts, the studies, the case studies, the statistics, the anecdotes, you have all of this information, but you structure in such a way inside of the book for it to be a pleasurable reading experience, for it to be a pleasant distraction, for it to be enjoyable. The same thing with your sales emails, your marketing communications. They ought not feel like sales emails. They might more feel like diary entries, some bombastic experience that you had. That, oh, by the way, relates directly to the product that's on sale for this week only. This is the sort of experience I want for you to offer your people. I think you can do it. I do. Another thing that is worth pointing out about this sort of persuasion is that there's two tracks here that we've opened up with the surveys. We've talked about the likelihood of Kamala's campaign internal polling being wildly different than what's out there in the public, where like they're effectively tied 50-50. Like how is it possible that in every single swing state it's polling exactly 49% amongst likely voters? Yeah, really? And Kamala's out here allegedly lying about saying that she owns a firearm. It goes back to the Oprah thing from a few days ago. It turns out that her staff is saying, no, she would not discharge a firearm in a home invasion situation, and she doesn't even own one, despite what she said. Right? She misspoke. This is what they always say. The other fact of the matter is telling the other side what they want to hear. Ooh, you notice that? Notice that? She was recently, a few weeks ago, talking about building the wall. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, the Ohio senator. I'm from Ohio. I'm big into Ohio nationalism. He joked that Kamala's new slogan is going to be "Make America Great Again," which is not. outside of the question and is ironically hilarious to even imagine, but not outside the question. It's the same thing with these hats that she's got going around called White Dudes for Harris, I think. What is it? It is attempting to persuade the other side, telling the other side what they want to hear. This is not even going after independents. This is saying strictly Republican and conservative policy. Defend yourself with a gun, build a wall. This is not modern day progressive liberal democratic policy whatsoever. This is stereotypically right wing, which also tells us that probably the majority of Americans are conservative. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Also, note the ethics involved. Kamala seems to be lying directly to the other side of her people to try to win them over, and also her side. Likely what's going to happen is her side won't care. They will ignore it. They will excuse it away because her team tends not to be very friendly towards firearms. So most likely you hear her say that and you'll say, oh, she's just exaggerating. She's making it up. Obviously, she doesn't have a firearm because firearms are bad. We got to make guns illegal, ban the Second Amendment. Right? That's what many of her supporters and her people are. Like, regulate. You know, Second Amendment was a mistake. Obviously, there's restrictions, right? That's like her side. And that goes to show with what she's been saying consistently about firearm ownership, about the federal government sending bureaucrats into your home unannounced, demanding to see any firearms. This is a leaked video of hers that came out recently. This is her consistent policy. That's what her side aligns with. So why is she saying the exact opposite in public to try to sway independent and conservative-leaning people? Well, it seems like you're saying something different to two different sides to try to win over the others. Is it okay to do this? That's a question you folks are going to have to answer at home. But I wanted to call out that it is in fact the case. But what does it show? It shows that they're paying attention to what's important to the other side. Are you paying attention to what's important to the other side? In this case, if you're a seller, well, that's going to be competitors. It's going to be buyers. What's their position? Is there something that a competitor of yours is doing or saying that's causing you to lose business? What would it take for you to run a campaign as a test to see if a pitch from your company inspired by something from your competitor would land? What if you went to your current customers with a message that's similar to but not identical of no copyright infringement? What would happen if you tested an almost identical sales message to your people that your competitors have offered as a test and see, does it resonate? This is very valuable information. And that's possibly why Kamala made the remark about being a firearm owner, is because, oh, gee, we're getting clocked. Let's see what we can do to appeal to conservative independents and even conservative Republicans who maybe don't like Trump for whatever reason. That could be the motivation behind it. And I think it's powerful. And it might be worth testing for you to test as well. Try it on. See how it feels to do the opposite of what you're doing right now. Opposite message. I think it's worth it as a test. I don't have any integrity or ethics or morality-based issues around that. Testing the exact opposite of what you've been trying if you're not getting the results that you want. Think about it. Does it make sense for you to keep doing what's not working? I don't think so. But know that this is not building in public. That's a common phrase people are using. This is you being smart, being strategic, being quiet, moving under cover of night, slithering through the darkness. Okay. It's you not doing too much publicly. It's you keeping close to your chest, your cards, playing them right, playing them well, playing them smart, not telegraphing what you're about to do or why you're doing it. And also not announcing, hey, we're going to completely rebrand and start new, different messaging right now. No. It's got to come out of nowhere. See if it resonates. See if it's different enough that it turns non-buyers who've been on your free email subscriber list for however long, because they downloaded the coupon once and never activated it. What would it look like to activate those people? All this from one headline. Isn't that amazing? It's called We Do a Little benchmark survey showing more Americans identify as Republicans, rather Democrats. Persuasion.